Time now for a bigger picture with Dr. Dan from Sioux Falls Hypnosis. Hello, sir.
Hello again.
Last week we talked about getting unstuck.
Unstuck in your grief.
And I had to look up grief and how to spell it when I was labeling that.
And then we had to grieve that.
I had to grieve that. It was quite a process. But after we were done, and we always have so much fun chatting before and after all of these programs. I wish we had 3 hours to put on the radio, but we don't. But sometimes we do have a longer episode that you can find at SiouxFallsPodcast.com.
Yep.
But today we're going to talk a little bit about what we talked about last week.
Right, and that idea that this is a useful thing, I think, for everybody to consider, to seriously and sincerely consider, is the idea that the people in your world that you dislike, the people in your world that you really struggle with, the people in your life and world that there's certain aspects of who they are that you just don't like or approve of.
Yeah.
If there's something in somebody you don't like, it's because you don't like it in yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is incredibly important. And again, a sincere, deep breath where we take a second and go, okay, what is it about this person that I don't like? Because it's so easy to be the victim. And then I always tell people, if you're ever feeling self-righteous about anything, like if that's what's going on in your head and coming out of your mouth, whenever you are self-righteous, you are in a dangerous place.
Oh, yeah.
Because whatever you're self-righteous about, it's in you.
Yeah.
It's absolutely in you. And it's that whole idea that what we don't like, it's because we don't like it in us.
Yeah.
It's actually in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And the other piece of it is when we think we're the victim of something, we're very likely then, again, deep breath, and sincerely consider the idea that you're actually the perpetrator of whatever took place in some very direct way, that you have placed yourself in this position, that you have set this situation up, that you have not taken responsibility for something, that you have allowed this to unfold in this way so that you get to be the victim in the end, when in reality you're the perpetrator of this. You allowed this to happen, and people do not like this idea at all.
Well, and sometimes we think that things are happening to us. Oh, this is happening to me. This is happening to me. But sometimes these things are just happening, and you happen to be there. But it's not. They're not singling you out. They're not coming after you. And sometimes people insert themselves into things. And then they're like, oh, this is always happening to me. I'm like, it's because you always drag yourself in the middle of everybody's stuff.
And it's that whole idea that we like to be the victim when in fact we have allowed this to unfold this way.
Yeah.
We didn't take responsibility for ourselves in a useful way. We didn't communicate directly when we should have. There's lots of things that choices that we have that we are ultimately responsible for. And rather than taking responsibility for our lives, we take this passive position that allows the situation to unfold where we are victimized at the end of it.
Yeah.
In some very real way. And in doing that, we never have to accept responsibility for the fact that we allowed this to unfold like this.
Absolutely.
Through what we did or didn't do. And again, and as soon as you're like, well, this person treated me badly, or I didn't get what I should have gotten. Anytime you're speaking and you hear that self-righteous tone, you need to stop and take a breath, because whatever's going on there is probably yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, this is something that we struggle to do, because when we're feeling like a victim, we tend to really indulge that.
Oh, absolutely.
Just psychologically, we all tend to indulge that. But we really need to be able to take a second and consider if there's something in another person we don't like, it's because we don't like it in us.
Yeah.
If we're being victimized in some way, it's very likely that we made choices, did or didn't do things that ended with us in the situation we're in.
Oh, yeah.
And our refusal to take responsibility for that, when we're just a victim and we don't take responsibility for ourselves, then what happens is we're moving through the world not seeing anything clearly.
Yeah.
And we're not taking responsibility for ourselves in any real way, or our world, or what we want or what we don't want. And instead, we're really just enjoying the fact that we get to be the victim, and then everybody gets to feel badly for us, and we get to be right. We get
Absolutely.
to be righteously correct. And we actually, that whole thing of either being right and sort of self-righteous, or being the victim and getting sympathy, we like either one of those positions way more than we like actually taking responsibility for ourselves in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And again, everybody out there in Radio Land, deep breath. Take a hard look at what you got going on. particularly the things that you're angry or upset about, particularly when you feel yourself to be victimized. Take a look at this, because I'm not saying that what happened to you was right or correct or anything like that. But what I am saying is that there's probably something in here that you need to take responsibility for so that you can actually change this, rather than just ending up as either to get sympathy or to get or to be right, one of the two.
We're all the narrator of our own story. So when we're telling our perspective, that's just your perspective. If the other party's telling the same story,
very different.
You're probably the villain in their story.
Right. And, when we're all out there trying to be the hero in the story, when in reality, whenever you're sitting there telling somebody you're the hero, deep breath, because you're probably in some significant way the villain in this story.
Yeah.
And and the idea is just to be able to accept that comfortably and to know that that's just a feature of who we are.
Yeah.
This is just what it is to be a person. So go ahead and take that in and be okay. And the idea is take a deep breath. And when you are the villain, what is it that... Stop that. Stop that.
Stop it.
Stop it. And consider the fact that you might be wrong, and go ahead and have a sense of humor and laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
Say you're sorry. Back up. Make a change.
Yeah.
Do it differently.
It only took me 20 years to realize I was the villain in the story I shared with you.
Right. And isn't it funny how when we get older, we realize that we were the villain?
I was like, well, maybe I was adding a little fuel to this fire.
And at the time, especially when we're young, we feel so right.
Oh, yeah.
And so correct.
I justified myself very clearly.
Right. So. And then later on, when we're far enough away, we're like, oh, wow, we were the bad guy in that story.
Maybe I shouldn't have done all those things.
Right.
When I was 27.
This is just a feature of being human, ladies and gentlemen. So deep breath, take it in. Allow for the fact that you are the hero and the villain.
Yes.
All the time. You're the hero and the villain, and you don't get to be just one. If you think you're just one, you're not seeing the situation realistically.
Yeah. If somebody listening is saying, I could maybe use a little bit of help.
Because hypnosis is great with this.
Yeah. Again, originally we were talking about getting through the process of grief. And after our program last week, he and I were chatting, and I was sharing a story about something that I did, a squabble that I was involved in, where I was equally, even though I was angry about the way the other party was acting, I decided to act out myself as well. And
boy, it felt right at the time, didn't it?
Sure felt right at the time. Looking back, I'm like, I was kind of a horrible person in my 20s, wasn't I?
Yeah.
I don't know about horrible person, but I did some dumb things. And
exactly.
I feel bad about it now. And I look
then the
back
idea is to be able to take that deep breath and learn from that, as opposed to having to maintain the feeling that you were right, or being ashamed, and then
I might send a message to that person saying, hey, sorry about that.
There you go. Excellent. That's exactly the way to start something different.
Very nice. Dr. Dan, if somebody would like some help with this, how do they get a hold of you?
Find us at SiouxFallsHypnosis.com, or you can call us directly at 605-702-6691.
Very nice. And if you catch the tail end of this and you're thinking, it sounds like I missed out on something good, you can find the entire program and many other programs just like this at SiouxFallsPodcast.com.